They told us humans were easy prey, soft, weak, illogical creatures who'd bend the knee the moment we showed them our superior firepower. 300 warships against one pathetic human fighter. Admiral Korven called it target practice. 10 minutes later, Korven was dead, our fleet was burning, and I was desperately trying to understand how everything we knew about warfare had just become obsolete. My name is Thrace, battle coordinator of the Velkon Armada, and I'm about to tell you how one human pilot taught an entire civilization the meaning of terror. The War Council chamber on the flagship Dominator buzzed with what I can only describe as smug satisfaction. Admiral Korven, all 7 feet of scaled arrogance, lounged in his command throne like he'd already won the battle that hadn't even started yet. "Coordinator Thrace," he rumbled, his voice dripping with condescension. "Status on the human vessel." I tapped my data slate, pulling up the readings. Single fighter craft, Admiral. Designation, Raptor 7. Pilot identification, Lieutenant Marcus Webb. No backup. No support carriers within 3 light years. He's alone. Korven's mandibles clicked in what passed for a Velkon laugh. One fighter, one. He swept his clawed hand across the tactical display, where 300 red dots represented our armada. I brought the entire 5th Fleet to crush the human colony on Arcturus 9, and they send us this. This is their response? General Vex, our tactical officer, shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, our intelligence suggests humans have a reputation for unorthodox strategies." "Unorthodox?" Korven interrupted. "You mean stupid. They're primitives playing with technology they barely understand. Watch." He jabbed a talon at the communications officer. "Hail the human. Let's have some fun before we vaporize him." The view screen flickered. What appeared made several officers gasp. The human was young, couldn't have been more than 30 cycles old by their reckoning. Dark hair, scruffy beard, and eyes that held something I couldn't quite identify. Amusement? No, something far more dangerous. "This is Lieutenant Marcus Webb of the Terran Defense Initiative," the human said, leaning back in his pilot seat with his hands behind his head. "I'm guessing you're here about the whole stop invading our colonies thing?" Korven's expression shifted between confusion and rage. "Human, you dare address me with such insolence? I am Admiral Korven, Supreme Commander of the Velkon 5th Fleet. You face 300 warships, each capable of glassing your pitiful worlds." Marcus yawned. Actually yawned. "Yeah, got the memo. 300 ships. Very impressive. Very compensating for something energy you've got going on there." "What?" "Nothing, big guy." Marcus sat forward, and his casual demeanor vanished in an instant. His eyes went cold. "Here's how this works. You've got exactly 60 seconds to turn your fleet around and jump back to whatever overcrowded lizard tank you crawled out of. Fail to do that, and I'll demonstrate why humanity has a saying, don't poke the bear." The entire War Council erupted in laughter. Even I couldn't suppress a clicking sound from my throat sacs. The audacity, the sheer insanity of this creature. Korven wiped a membrane from his eye. "Oh, this is precious. Human, I'll make you a deal. Surrender now, and I'll kill you quickly. Refuse and I'll hunt down everyone you've ever loved and make them watch as I dissect you piece by piece." Marcus smiled. Not a friendly smile. The kind of smile that made my survival instincts scream warnings I should have listened to. "Wrong answer," he said softly. The screen went dark. "All batteries target that fighter," Korven roared. "I want him atomized." 300 ships opened fire simultaneously. Plasma cannons, missile batteries, particle beams, enough firepower to crack a moon. The space around the Raptor 7 lit up like a newborn star. When the light cleared, the fighter was gone. "Confirmed hit, Admiral," Vex reported, his voice relieved. "No debris, but at that concentration." "Contact," someone screamed. "Fighter reappearing bearing 274. Impossible. The Raptor 7 materialized 3 kilometers behind our left flank, moving at speeds that made our sensors whimper. Before anyone could react, it fired. But not at a ship. The single shot, some kind of compressed energy round, hit the asteroid field we'd been using as cover. The impact triggered a chain reaction I still don't fully understand. Suddenly, Millions of rock fragments were accelerating toward our fleet at relativistic speeds, each one a kinetic kill vehicle. Evasive maneuvers, Korven bellowed, but it was too late. The first wave of debris shredded 12 ships in the outer perimeter. Shields designed to stop energy weapons were useless against solid matter moving at a fraction of light speed. Hulls crumpled like paper. Atmosphere vented in glittering clouds. People I'd known for decades died screaming. Return fire, Vex shouted. But the human fighter was already gone again, reappearing on our right flank. This time, Marcus targeted our munitions freighter. No. I lunged for the tactical console, but physics doesn't care about panic. The Raptor 7's shot penetrated the freighter's magazine. The resulting explosion consumed 47 nearby vessels in an expanding sphere of nuclear fury. In less than 3 minutes, we'd lost nearly a fifth of our fleet, to one fighter, one human. How? Korven whispered. His usual bluster evaporated. How is he doing this? I forced myself to analyze the tactical data, my training overriding my terror. He's not trying to destroy us directly, Admiral. He's using our own tactics against us. Our formation, our weapons, our positioning. He's turning everything into a weapon. Impossible. No organic mind can process combat calculations that fast. Then he's not using just his organic mind, I realized. Sir, request permission to open communications. Denied. All ships, weapons free, kill that human. What followed was 3 minutes of absolute chaos. Marcus Webb didn't fight like any pilot I'd ever seen. He fought like gravity, like entropy, like an inevitable force of nature. He'd appear, fire a single shot at some seemingly random target, then vanish before our weapons could track him. Each shot created cascading failures throughout our formation. A missile struck our own command carrier because Marcus had hacked its guidance system. 2 destroyers collided while pursuing him through a debris field. A dreadnought's reactor went critical after a precise shot to its cooling system. And through it all, the human never stopped talking. Too slow. His voice crackled over our emergency channels. 300 ships and you can't hit one fighter? I've seen better coordination at a toddler's birthday party. 73 ships gone. Then 90. Then 112. Admiral Korven stood frozen at his command station, watching his armada dissolve around him. The mighty Velkon 5th Fleet, terror of 6-star systems, was being systematically dismantled by a single human in a fighter that probably cost less than our toilet facilities. Sir, I said quietly, we need to retreat, now. He didn't answer, couldn't answer. His entire worldview was crumbling in real time. The Raptor 7 appeared directly in front of the Dominator's view screen, close enough that I could see Marcus Webb's face. He wasn't smiling anymore. He looked tired, disappointed. Last chance, he said. Admiral Korven found his voice, though it came out as a strangled hiss. You think you've won, human. You think destroying a fraction of my fleet means victory? I still have over 100 warships. You're one pilot, one fragile bag of meat in a tin can. Marcus tilted his head, and I swear I saw pity in his expression. Pity? For us? You really don't get it, do you? He leaned forward in his cockpit. I'm not here to win, Admiral. I'm here to teach you a lesson. See, humanity tried the diplomatic route. We sent ambassadors, peace treaties, cultural exchanges. You vaporized them and laughed about it in your war rooms. My blood went cold. How did he know about that? So my superiors asked me a question, Marcus continued, his voice dropping to something that made my scales itch. They asked what's the minimum force required to make the Velkon Armada understand that Earth is off limits. Turns out, the answer is me, just me, because it's not about destroying you. It's about making sure that every single alien species watching this battle right now understands what happens when you threaten humanity. Watching? Korven glanced at me. What is he talking about? I checked my sensors and felt my secondary heart skip a beat. Sir, we're being monitored. 17 different species have observation probes in the system. They're recording everything. Of course they were, old. This wasn't just a battle. It was a demonstration. A message written in burning wreckage and dead soldiers. Marcus smiled that terrible smile again. Now you've got 2 options, Admiral. Option 1. You take your remaining ships and you run. You go home. Tell your leaders that humans are not to be touched. And you spend the rest of your life wondering if I'm going to show up one day to finish the job. And option 2? Korven growled, trying desperately to salvage some dignity. Option 2 is you keep fighting, and I show you what I can really do when I stop being nice. Nice? Vex sputtered. You call this nice? You've killed thousands. Haven't killed anyone who didn't fire first, Marcus corrected. Every ship I've destroyed was actively trying to murder me. Self-defense. Clean, legal, justified. But if you want to see what happens when I stop playing defensive, his hand moved toward a console I couldn't identify. Well, let's just say I've got authorization to demonstrate the Ragnarok Protocol. Silence. Nobody knew what the Ragnarok Protocol was, but the way he said it made my survival instincts scream louder than they ever had before. Korven's claws dug into his armrests. I could see the calculations running behind his eyes. Pride versus pragmatism. Legacy versus survival. You're bluffing, he said finally. No single fighter carries enough firepower to threaten my remaining fleet. You're absolutely right, Marcus agreed cheerfully. This fighter doesn't carry enough firepower, but it doesn't need to. He pulled up a display that appeared on our view screens. It showed our fleet formation from above. See, Admiral, you made a critical mistake. You brought 300 ships into a system containing a gas giant, 2 asteroid belts and a dying star. You basically walked into the universe's biggest improvised weapons depot and challenged the species that invented the term "hold my beer." I frantically checked the stellar cartography data. He was right. The system's gravity wells, radiation fields, magnetic anomalies, all of it could be weaponized if you knew how. And Marcus Webb clearly knew how. Here's what's going to happen, the human said, his fingers dancing across his controls. In approximately 15 seconds, I'm going to fire a single quantum disruptor into the gas giant's upper atmosphere. That'll create a chain reaction that'll release about 40 years' worth of stored magnetic energy in one burst. The resulting electromagnetic pulse will fry every unshielded system in the fleet. That's most of you, by the way. Your shields are designed for kinetic and energy weapons, not stellar phenomena. You're insane, Vex shouted. That kind of reaction would take hours to calculate. For you, maybe. I've got a pretty good AI co-pilot, though. Say hello, Vera. A female voice, synthetic but somehow warm, responded from his fighter. Hello, aliens who are currently experiencing existential dread. Calculations complete, Marcus. Firing solution optimal. Also, I've taken the liberty of hacking their navigation systems, just in case. My console lit up with alerts. She wasn't joking. Every ship in the fleet suddenly reported navigational errors. Minor ones, but enough to throw off any coordinated response. Vera is dramatic, Marcus said conversationally. I like that about her, but she's not wrong. So, Admiral Korven, Supreme Commander of the 5th Fleet, terror of 6 systems, guy who really needs to work on his anger management. What's it going to be? I watched Korven's face cycle through rage, denial, fear, and finally acceptance. He'd been outplayed from the moment we entered the system, maybe from the moment he decided to attack a human colony. This wasn't a battle. It was a chess game where we'd been in checkmate since the opening move, too arrogant to realize it. General Thrace, Korven said quietly. Prepare the fleet for emergency jump. We're leaving. Relief flooded through me. Yes, sir. All ships prepare for immediate— Not yet, Marcus interrupted. One more thing. Before you go, I need each of your ship captains to transmit a formal apology to the colonists of Arcturus 9. Genuine ones. I've got a very sophisticated algorithm that can detect sincerity. Any ship that doesn't transmit or transmits something sarcastic, well, Vera gets a little trigger-happy when people aren't polite. This is an outrage, Korven roared. We are the Velkon Armada. We do not apologize to prey species. Marcus sighed. Vera, charge the disruptor. Charging, the AI responded cheerfully. Approximately 8 seconds to firing solution. 7, 6. Wait. I overrode Korven's authority, something I'd never done before and might be executed for later. If there was a later, all ships transmit formal apologies immediately. Use the standard diplomatic template Omega-7. Do it now. One by one, the acknowledgements came in. Ship captains swallowing their pride, transmitting apologies to the humans they'd come to exterminate. I transmitted mine personally, and meant every word. Sorry for following orders. Sorry for underestimating you. Sorry for being part of a system that thought violence was easier than conversation. Marcus listened to each one, nodding slightly. Theora, analysis. Approximately 63% genuine, 37% coerced but acceptable. No detectable sarcasm above threshold levels. I suppose we can let them live. You suppose? Marcus laughed. You're going soft, girl. All right, Admiral. You're free to go. But remember this moment. Remember how easily I could have ended you, and the next time your government looks at a human colony and thinks about conquest, remember Lieutenant Marcus Webb and the day the Velkon Fifth Fleet ran away from one fighter. Korven's jaw worked silently. Finally, he managed, Why go through all this just to let us leave? Marcus's expression softened slightly. Because I'm a soldier, not a murderer. And because maybe, just maybe, if you survive this, you'll go home and tell your people that humans prefer friends over corpses. We're really good at making both, but we'd rather stick to the first option. Your choice which category you want to be in next time. He saluted, a human gesture I'd only seen in historical archives. Then his fighter spun gracefully, accelerated to impossible speeds and vanished toward the inner system. All ships, I ordered, my voice steadier than I felt. Execute jump sequence. Get us out of here. As the Dominator's jump drive spooled up, I watched the tactical display showing the wreckage of our fleet. 147 ships destroyed, thousands dead, and the human pilot had barely scratched the surface of his capabilities. General Vex approached me, his usual swagger gone. Coordinator? What do we tell High Command? I thought about it for a long moment. The truth, that we learned humanity isn't a prey species. They're the apex predator, and they've been kind enough to let the rest of us survive because they choose to, not because they have to. They'll think we're cowards. Then they're welcome to lead the next expedition to human space, I replied. I suspect it'll be a short trip. The jump drive engaged. The system, with its floating debris and its lesson written in blood and fire, disappeared behind us. Somewhere in the depths of space, I knew those 17 observation probes were transmitting everything they'd witnessed. By tomorrow, every species in the galactic community would know what happened here. Some would call it propaganda. Others would call it a warning. I called it the truth. Humans weren't warriors because they loved violence. They were warriors because they were really good at it, and they'd had thousands of years to perfect the art of turning everything around them into a weapon. The ships, the asteroid field, the star system itself. In their hands, the entire universe was an arsenal. And they just demonstrated that they could use it with surgical precision or apocalyptic fury, depending on how polite you were. As I filed my report in the quiet of my quarters, I included a personal recommendation to High Command: designate human space as permanently off-limits. Label every colony, every outpost, every ship with the highest level warning. Not because they couldn't be beaten, but because beating them would cost more than any victory was worth. The Velkon Fifth Fleet had learned that lesson. 147 ships and thousands of lives had paid the tuition. I just hoped the rest of the galaxy was smart enough to learn from our mistake instead of repeating it. Because next time, Lieutenant Marcus Webb might not be in a teaching mood.